Drew McIntyre is now on the Judgment Day, Randy Orton's return confirmed. In this episode of Monday Night Raw, it seems like we are building towards War Games, and the thing I noticed that I actually liked is that Raw is now centered around the men's War Games match, while SmackDown is centered around the women's War Games match. So it's no surprise that SmackDown this past week was filled with multiple segments involving Damage Control and Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair. And on Raw, this episode was very much about Team Cody versus Team Judgment Day. And to start it off, we had Team Cody come out, and honestly, up until this moment, I didn't even realize how stacked this team was. And Michael Cole brought up a great point, that every person that came out, whether it was Seth, Cody, Sami, or Jay, they had the whole crowd singing their song. And after some heated tension between Seth and Cody, the Judgment Day come out, and they had fuel to the fire, but it backfires when a heated Damian tells Team Cody that he's the leader of the Judgment Day, which leads us into the first match, Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins versus Dominik, Mysterio, and JD McDonagh in a tag team match, which ended in a DQ when the rest of the Judgment Day came out and jumped Sami and Seth, which brought out Cody and Jay again, leading to a huge brawl that security had to come out and break up, and Adam Pearce banned everyone who was not in the main event from the building, and Pearce grew some balls and stood toe-to-toe with Rhea and told her off. I'm very into the whole general manager's concept and how much it plays into the weekly episodes now. But while Rhea is still arguing with Pearce, Zoey Stark comes out and tells Rhea she has too much on her plate and that she is coming for her title. And as straightforward as that message was, Zoey isn't the best on the mic, and she really benefited from Trish back in the day. So hopefully Shayna will take up that spot eventually, but since there's not much you can do right now, and the match at Survivor Series is going to be amazing, and Zoey is phenomenal in the ring, at least there's something to be excited about. Next up was Shinsuke Nakamura versus Otis, and a very nice match. The way Otis always has the crowd rooting for him no matter what he's doing is great. And Alpha Academy nowadays is such a fun group, especially with the new addition of Akira Tozawa, but after 3 Kinshasas, Nakamura comes out with the win and challenges Gable for next week. And with Survivor Series coming up soon, hopefully we'll finally find out who Nakamura has been looking for this entire time. The rest of the matches were pretty much matches to get the talent on the show who haven't had much screen time lately, as a way to get them into storylines and build them up since we are in the off-season of wrestling after Survivor Series. And with this being the last pay-per-view of the year and no Roman till Mania season, the WWE needs fresh talent and fresh storylines, like this feud with Xia Li and Becky Lynch, Natalya and Tegan Nox feuding with Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, or Imperium and DIY. But speaking of tag teams, the men's tag team division is heating up. With so many teams on Raw, it's only a matter of time once Survivor Series is over that we can see matches like the Judgment Day versus the Creed Brothers, or Alpha Academy, or DIY. The list goes on. And the way The Miz has been going lately, this guy has one of the most seamless transitions to a babyface I've ever seen. In just a couple of weeks, the crowd went from booing The Miz to popping huge whenever he's in the ring. So shout out to The Miz. And his match at Survivor Series with Gunther is going to be so much fun. Now for the main event, tag team title match with the Judgment Day versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. Now this match was intense. You could tell before the bell rang that there was a fire lit under Cody and Jay. Now that they knew that they'd finally get a clean 2-on-2 match with the Judgment Day, since everyone else was banned from the building, or so they thought. But deep into this match, while Jay was going crazy with the crowd chanting yeet after every move, Drew McIntyre appears from out of nowhere and claymores Jay, solidifying his heel turn and helping the Judgment Day retain their tag titles. And right as the show went off the air, Rhea Ripley came out and shook Drew's hand, almost like the conversation Drew had with Seth earlier backstage when he told Seth that he was going to work his ass off to get a rematch, and Drew shook Seth's hand. But in reality, working his ass off really meant to team up with the Judgment Day and maybe join their team for War Games. And if Drew pins Seth at Survivor Series, there's a good argument that Drew deserves a rematch against Seth. And with the Judgment Day in his corner, there's no way Drew loses his second time around. Overall, I thought this episode was alright. Besides the War Games stuff in the Miz match, it was a bit mid, but let me know your thoughts down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.